y'all. I was just answering emails. I am behind on a lot of them. So if you're watching right now and I need to answer to an email that you've sent me, I will do it. I will do it soon. I promise. Soon is a relative term, but it's, you know, it's it's good. Hey, Eva Little is now following the show. I'm so glad that you are, Eva. Welcome. If you need to do something with your device to turn on notifications, make sure to do it, because this show, this channel, it's been really fun. I mean, it's been 16 months or something, right, that we've been doing this. And I used to do 4 shows a week, sometimes 5. In the beginning, I did that. And then I realized that if I wanted to keep doing this, which I do, for a very long time, I had to change a few things. One, I needed to not... I mean, we reached like 200 shows in record time. I mean, some people do a podcast once a week. It's 4 years later, they're at 200. Well, yeah, 4 years later, they're at 200 shows. We're like, no, not Quilt Nerd. And it's a testament to the mountains of content out there that we could get there. Anyway, the point is, Eva, is that lately we've been trying different things, and Quilt Nerd Classic, the show you're going to see tonight, the show we did on Tuesday, most of the time it's like Quilt Nerd Classic, which means that you're going to get the kind of show that you're going to watch tonight, which is an exploration of topics quilt related. You won't learn how to make quilts on this show, but you will definitely, in a way, you will learn how, because if you want to, if you want to be inspired, if you want to learn about the craft of quilt making and what it means, or just why you like it, this is the show for you. It's I don't think there's any other show like it. It's on Twitch, which is kind of weird, but I'm kind of weird, and I just don't like doing things the way everybody else does them. What can I say? I don't know. I'm not comfortable like that. So we multi-stream to YouTube and Facebook because you got to do it. And we love our YouTube and Facebook friends, but the party's on Twitch. And so if you want to be sort of part of what's happening here, which is pretty great, and a lot of people are doing that. And I've noticed, by the way, that people who come around, live streaming is this parasocial thing and the live streaming thing, and people come and go. It's totally fine. And like, I watch live streamers for a while, and then I don't for a while, whether they change their schedule or whatever. There's a lot of content out there, but there's this core Quilt Nerd crew, and I think the fact that they keep coming back is proof that we have something here, that's pretty neat, and it's not. It's just very sincere. We really enjoy this topic. We really find new things all the time to talk about quilt-related things. And it's not just like, we don't just talk about like the latest patterns that are coming out in the magazines. I mean, no. We're talking about art and history and philosophy. We are going to watch a video tonight. Oh, it's so good, I don't know if we'll watch all of it, but it's really great, about a quilting circle in North Carolina. Fascinating, so interesting, these women, and I've never heard their story, so we're going to watch that. My mom has been making quilts lately, like again for the first time in some time. So we're going to look at just a few snapshots she sent me of some of her things. There's always a quilt behind me to start the show. This new, there's always a different quilt for every show, and it's the intro quilt. It just happened very naturally once I got a fancy green screen, and so I'm going to talk about that. And then and then I went into our Discord server. I mean, y'all, I am behind. To say I'm behind that's not even right. That ain't even right. I mean, I'm like out of touch right now. It's just the way it goes. I got so much. I'm trying to get through emails. Dee Marie, I was answering your email, and it was like, I gotta go online. So I mean, I'm behind, and I care about those emails, but whatever. So the Discord server is the place where we hang out when the show's not on, right? And we call it the disco, because Discord. Why would you ever want to be spending time on something that was called Discord? So we call our Discord server the disco. And if you don't know what the Discord server is, it's kind of like it's like a chat room, Facebook. If you use Slack for work, it's a Slack. Anyway, we have these different channels in the Discord server. And one of the channels, one of the rooms, if you will, one of the topics, the little meeting areas that people go into and talk about specific things, quilt spotting. quilt spotting. When you see quilts usually in television or movies, people take screenshots or they take a picture with their phone. The quilt spotting channel, Cake, I mean, it is so good. Stephanie Cake, everybody. Stephanie Cake is on the line. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, no, I got to do this. Hold on. I really want to give you some applause. Okay, Stephanie Cake. Yeah.
Hello. Oh, I love applause.
Yeah. How are you doing? And you were active in the train spotting channel, or the quilt spotting channel. I have one image tonight from a post from you. Yeah.
Oh yes, I have put a few things in there. Anytime I see, there are other quilt nerds that are much better at seeing quilts and shows. I feel like I just find quilts in weird places.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's a fun game. And you know what? My husband,
yes,
Mr. Cake, Cake finds them a lot more than I do.
The one I have up here is from Mr. Cake, and he seems very proud. He seems very proud. You're like, he's very happy that he found this one, and this is from him. Yeah. Stephanie Cake. So Stephanie Cake is honor producer of the show, and I did a lot of really cool stuff today, like advancing technology, and you have a new slideshow you might have noticed at the top of the show. But Stephanie Cake, I thought you weren't going to be here tonight because you weren't. Plans changed, right?
Plans changed, yep.
Yeah, and for the first time since she came along and was like, I don't know, like gifted her presence to this show, she's never missed a show. So far, you're still like batting 1,000. Is that what you bat? If it's good?
I'm still, yes, batting 1,000. I believe so. Yeah. I'm like that nerd that was never absent. Like had perfect, which in real life I did not have perfect attendance, but
yeah. And did you raise your? My green screen doesn't go that far, but did you raise your hand like this?
Oh no!
Okay.
It's funny. I was the nerd that sat in the back and hid.
Oh.
I paid attention. I knew the answers, but I was too shy.
Too shy. Okay. Did you do like a goth thing? Were you ever like, I know the answers, but I don't care because death and poetry?
Maybe a little bit of that, but I don't know. I just was trying not to be called on.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. But I wanted to ask you something really quick. When did you make your first quilt? I don't know if I've ever asked you, and I would like to ask you now.
Oh, interesting question.
Yeah.
Okay. I made my first quilt when I was still in high school.
Interesting. Speaking of high school, that's weird. That's weird, right?
I don't remember why I made it. And I do still have it. It is a monstrosity.
Yeah. How big is it?
It's bed-sized because I had it on my bed. So and I had a queen-size bed. So it was at least big enough to cover the top of a queen-size bed. I don't remember that it went over the sides much, so yeah. It was probably more like a twin size quilt. But yeah, and I was dating a guy at the time that his grandmother and his aunts had made a lot of clothes in the 60s, and she hands me this giant garbage bag one day of all these scraps, and it was really cool garment scraps and stuff. So I made a quilt out of them. Yeah.
And it was just all colors, all kinds of things.
Yeah, and I mean, it included new stuff too. It included, I raided my mom's fabric stash. I mean, sure. You guys may remember my mom was a quilter way back. So she always had, she had all the supplies. I don't even think I had to buy batting. I think I just raided her batting stash.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was all the wrong things. My seams were all wrong. Yeah. The second I washed it, it started raveling.
Did you have footy pajama material and lame? And was it like that? It's so bad.
Yeah, it was drapery. Yeah, drapery fabric next door to lawn, cotton lawn. Yeah,
oh, no.
It was terrible.
And then
and I tied it too. I didn't quilt it.
Which is probably good. I mean, that's a good thing because if you had tried to quilt it, that would have been even harder. Tying it is probably a better way to go, don't you think? Because I actually have a top like that I need to finish, and I'm thinking tying it. Oh, yeah. And by the way, the pillows that you worked on, I still haven't opened them. They're right there. But I haven't opened them because I'm waiting to get Mike on the line to open them with him. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Open them and they're going to explode out of there.
Oh, really? I'm so excited. So, anyway. So that's very interesting. And I wonder, do you still have it? And then I have a question for you at home. Do you all, do we have enough of a critical mass? Do you have pictures of your first quilt? Because that would be a really fun segment on the show. If you have your first quilt and you can take a picture of it, Or if you have a picture of your first quilt, I mean, and maybe your first or second, like anywhere in your like first 3, not your first 5, first 3. If you have a picture, or could take a picture or procure a picture of your your first or second or third quilt, that would be so fun. I would love to do that. It'd be like quilt baby nerds on parade, you know? So you let me know. I mean, let's do it. I mean, where would we put those? It'd be easy, right? Just email them to quiltnerdshow@gmail.com and put my first quilt in the subject line. That's it. Finally, an idea we have on the show that is actually easy to execute instantly. So, yeah, put my first quilt, quiltnerdshow@gmail.com. We'll do it. I would love to do that. Anyway, so do you still have it, Steph?
I do. It is actually just hanging over the banister in my upstairs. The cat sleeps on it sometimes. It is a very unloved quilt. I'll be honest. I really need to like pull it out, take a look at it, see what kind of condition it's really in.
Interesting.
So
yeah, that's good.
My second quilt, however, it was gifted to my brother-in-law, and his family still uses it. And now we're talking like, yeah, I gifted that to him in like 1990 something.
Was it flannel?
96 maybe.
Was it flannel? Like
no,
like Nirvana flannel?
It was a more logically constructed quilt that had like quilt fabric as the backing and
Oh boy, yeah. Well, that's good. I like these early stories because youth is wasted on the young, right? And like early beginner quilters who really want to make a quilt and they're really fired up about it, like that passion and that desire really takes you through a lot, because I mean, you just try things that like few of us would try now. It's like, oh no, I'm not sewing rayon to cotton lawn, Tana lawn from Liberty, London, like for many reasons, but like the beginner's like, I love it, I'm doing this, It's great. We love it. So great. We'll do a beginner show. Saying hi to everybody. Susan and Joyous Fibers. Joyous Fibers, you're in the show tonight. Susan, you're in the show tonight. Is Bridgewater here in the chat? Because several of the quilt spotting pictures I have queued up to share with you all. Bridgewater, you're all over it. And so is Susan or Michael. Penny Catherine. Quilts for Sweet Dreams. Quilts for Sweet Dreams. I think you subscribed. I was looking at my Twitch thing, looking at my stuff, and was sort of seeing some of the activity about subscribers and things, and whoever subscribes to this show, I appreciate you. I appreciate it a great deal. If you subscribed recently, I'm so glad. If you renewed, welcome to Chicago. We're here on a busy street. Anyway, I think that's wonderful. And Crafts for Others redeemed crisp selector. So if you watch the show, you accrue channel points. And one of the reasons I really like Twitch is because it's fun with things like that. And it's just different, different. And one of the things that happens is when you watch the show, you accrue channel points. And as the creator, I can make our channel points be anything I want. Like if you were a violin player who had a Twitch channel and you played your violin on Twitch channel, that happens to be a thing, right? There's musicians who play on Twitch, and Lego people and beer people, and it's great, Anyway, so if you were a violin player, your channel points could be Stravinsky's or something. And she'd be like, I watch this person all the time, and I've amassed 50,000 little Stravinsky channel points, so I'm going to spend them on things while I watch her show. I'm going to spend them on perhaps requesting a song for her to play, that kind of thing. So you can spend channel points on this show. And because we didn't figure out the channel point thing, and by we I mean me, I didn't really figure it out for a while. Most of the people who've been watching this show have like 750,000 channel points at this point because we didn't really know what to do. I didn't know. Anyway, so you can get things, and I've been a little bit slow on all of that. There's even some content directors that I stuff because you can request to have me do things, and it's just so many things to do. But anyway. You can request, you can be a content director, spend your thimbles on that, and request that I cover a certain topic on the show at some point. And you can also make me tell a joke. And I have to say, I learned a very good joke yesterday, and it's good, and it is so good. I'm just saying, I've got one. And then you can also tell me what kind of chips to eat. And I was going to mention I was going to, I brought over the bag to mention these chips today. Now I know Crafts for Others, you know, you're supposed to be able to tell me what kinds of chips I have to eat on the next show, because I always eat chips. I just do. I like chips and wine. But I mean, you have good timing, because I was not interested in these chips. Truffle oil and sea salt. I was like, truffle, I mean, it's good, but like also it's like a lot. Well, then there was a sale on chips. I didn't want another bag of sea salt chips. I was like, fine. Well, who said they're your favorite chips? A nun maker? These chips, oh, they're so good. They are my favorite chips. They're my favorite chips. That's a lot. That's saying a lot. They are delicious. Oh, I can't recommend them enough. Kettle brand chips. I talk about you a lot.
Well, now you're going to have to tell the joke, because
okay.
you've got two Comedy Club redemptions now.
Okay, here we go. Okay, sorry. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you this joke, and then we're going to get into the quilts. The thing is about a live stream, you can kind of play around. You know, you can have some fun. You can, like, you know, hang with your peeps. And that's what we do. We're our peeps. So here's the joke. Now, my friend is Jewish, and he tells classically sort of, you know, with like the accent and the, you know, the thing. And so I'm going to tell it just like he told it to me. He's got great jokes. Oh my God. And it's a little blue, but it's just great. I don't, no content warnings needed. Okay. God help me. I get it right. Okay. So Sal and Edna, they're having their 50th wedding anniversary. And 50 years, you know, they've been married 50 years. And Sal turns to Edna and he says, Edna, 50 years. I've been married to you. You're the love of my life. And I've never strayed. I love you, you know. And Edna says, Sal, 50 years. I love you. And after a minute, Sal's like, Edna, I have to notice, you know, you didn't say, tell me, have you strayed, you know? And she's like, I have 3 times. And Sal's like, no. And he's like, what happened? You know, oh my God. She's like, well, remember when you wanted to start your dry goods shop and you couldn't get a lease? And then you got the lease. And then, you remember, you know, the bank was going to foreclose on your loan? But you didn't get foreclosed on, did you? He was like, oh. And then she said, and remember when you were going to be elected to the board of the synagogue and you were 14 votes short? You know, right? I don't know if synagogues have a board. I don't know. It was something like some sort of, you know, board or something where there's a big bunch of people. You get it, right? It makes sense, right? Okay, good. You can't read the room when you're just staring into a small camera on a, but I hope you liked it. It's good, right? Pastrami tacos, it's good, right? You were 14 votes short. You know, it's the first time I've ever told it, okay? I got through it. Anyway, let's just hope it was. Okay, here we go. So we have a good time up here. So chips and jokes. So let's look at this quilt, because it's a lot of fun. My Great Cats is like, I don't get it, and I think I might have failed you. Okay, so let me get small here, and okay, you like. So this quilt is wonderful. This is a wonderful thing that I found in this book. Oh, the other thing that I did tonight is that I've brought you a gift, y'all. The gift of a new production, upping the production quality of the show. I usually, this whole time, Steph, you're gonna love this. I didn't even get time to tell you, but I've used Preview to show you quilts, right? And we zoom in and we zoom out and stuff. But when I've used Preview, it's not too important, but when I've used Preview to look at like the side of a quilt, you know how the quilt goes and it bounces back into place? No. I'm using Acorn now. that means that I can do these things. Do we ever want to look at a quilt like that? All up high on the screen like that? I don't know. But it won't ever, I don't have, I can be hands-free. And I couldn't do that before. It is sort of technical and not that important, but this is way, way better, y'all. Like, this is way better. Because we can get as close as we did, but I can scoot all the way over. I don't want to make you dizzy, but I can scoot all the way over on this quilt. And in the past, I would scoot and scoot and scoot and scoot and scoot and scoot, and then it would do that. It's never going to do that again. That's exciting. It's really exciting. So that's fun, right? Okay. So,
by the way, Mary, everyone loves your sweater.
Oh, good. This is Donna Wilson. I got it in London. It's I think Donna Wilson has fabric. She's a UK designer. She makes things that are too cute for words. Like, they're just a little too cute for words. And I bought this jumper in London. And I like it. Thank you very much. All right. So this is the book I got the quilt from. The picture from. Quilts of the Ohio Western Reserve. I highly recommend this this book. The one thing I have to do is just get used to getting rid of those things. Yeah. This is Fran Soika, one of my favorites. You know, we talk about Fran Soika sometimes. Soika. She did the quilt on the cover of this book, which I just love. It's so neat. So, Quilts of the Ohio Western Reserve. It's a really great book by Ricky Clark. Is that right? Yeah, Ricky Clark. So we're an A-Books affiliate. So when I talk about a book, there's a chat. There's a link in the chat from Stephanie Cake. And if you want to buy this book, click on that link to buy it, because then we get a few ducats through our affiliate thing. So this quilt is in there. So I was looking at this book and just enjoying it because the pictures are so beautiful and they're glossy. And hold on, it's Saturday night, so sometimes this tiring. Okay, so let me tell you the story of this quilt. I saw this one and I liked it, but then it was when I saw the picture of the maker. This guy, Arnold Heggie Savage, age 51. 51? Looks pretty great for 51. 51 in 1976. So the fellow who made this quilt, his name is Arnold, and that's him. Let's see. Oops, hang on now. Nope, hang on. I just want to, this is a new program for me, so I'm just trying to, it's Option Tab to get rid of those things. Okay, great. So what's the story? Well, let's take a look. The exuberant quilt called Opus number 25, 4th of July, clearly celebrates America's centennial and bicentennial in its colors of red, white, and blue. Its American and Ohio state flags and the initials and dates quilted into the center block. The story behind this quilt, however, is even more compelling. Mary Alice Heggie, born in 1870 in Carroll County, Ohio, was the great aunt of Arnold Heggie Savage, our friend here, right? Born in 1926. An outstanding quilter in Avon, Lorain County. So they're speaking of Arnold here, right? Arnold became, about the great quilter, it's Arnold who they mean. Arnold became a quilt maker early in his life. He's also a genealogist, a musician, and a Midwestern and national champion figure skater. What? That's so cool, Arnold. You know what I'm feeling like? I'm feeling like research project or interview. Who is this guy? Fascinating, right? And this book was published in 2005. So a few years, but yeah. And it's Arnold Heggie Savage. For 40 years, he was a figure skating judge. Wow. Amazing. He's always been interested in fabrics. I feel like we do need to look at him for a second. He has always been interested in fabrics and was particularly grateful to have inherited all of his great aunt Mary Alice's fabrics, including some she had made into quilt blocks. Yeah. So he inherited these orphan blocks. Interesting. He also discovered family references suggesting that Mary Alice had begun work on a quilt to celebrate America's Centennial. Centennial in 1876. As she was only 6 years old at the time of the centennial, it's not surprising that Mary Alice never completed her quilt. Oh, she was just a little shorty. She's like, I want to make a quilt for the centennial, but I'm small. Well, using his great aunt's blocks and fabrics, Arnold designed and made a centennial bicentennial quilt, which he completed in time for America's bicentennial celebration. The outer row of blocks includes some made by his great aunt Mary Alice, the Ohio Star and Jacob's Ladder blocks. We know those, right? And others that Arnold designed and made from Mary Alice's fabrics. Flags of America and Ohio. Wow! So the American flag and the Ohio flags are made from her fabrics. Oh! This family quilt, begun in 1876 and completed in 1976, has dual functions. It celebrates America's centennial and bicentennial, and also draws together two generations of quilt makers in the same family, 100 years apart. That's a Quilt Church moment. How cool is that? Isn't that great? Isn't that great? This guy. It's in this book, and it's just wonderful. It's just so great. Now, I love that. Yeah, he's cute. I agree. I love this idea of finishing quilts, right? Finishing quilts that were not finished, continuing the story, and you could even say, I'm finishing the story that my great aunt started, or I'm finishing the quilt. But in a way, you're just continuing. Arnold was continuing the story, because now this quilt, part of its story, is that it's in this book. And now it's on Quilt Nerd, and now we're all talking about it, So a quilt doesn't end when it's finished, its story is really only just begun. But it's pretty neat, and I'm really into this idea of taking those orphan blocks and tops and making them come alive, doing what the quilt maker intended. And if there's a quilt top or there's a bunch of blocks, it's probably what he or she was going for, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever told you my little orphan quilt story.
No, tell me.
So my uncle, my dad's brother, was born in 1947, and that year, my grandmother's mother started a quilt for him. She wanted to make him a quilt.
And what year? Did you say 44?
1947.
47, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, and so she made, and she was a pretty prolific quilter, I think. So anyway, she made a bunch of blocks. I'm sure it was enough for the entire quilt, but she never put them together, and she never quilted them because she fell ill and passed away. And so when I think by then my dad was born. Anyway, I guess it sat there for a really long time. Sometime in the 80s, my grandmother said, it is time to, my uncle's name is Steve. She said it's time for Steve's quilt to be made. So she finished the quilt.
Wow.
And she and her sister, and she did all the right things. You guys, you'll be proud of my grandmother. She signed it and wrote all the information about how it was started by his grandmother for him. And then his mother finished it. It's all embroidered and stuff. And unfortunately, he had some very serious health problems. And sort of in the last year of his life, I spent some time with him, and he gave me the quilt.
Oh my God.
And he said, do not tell anybody in the family you have this quilt, because they will come out of the woodwork and want it.
Oh yeah.
They'll try to claim it. And second, don't you think it's the ugliest thing you've ever seen?
Is it pretty bad? Or is it a quilt only a family could love? Oh wow.
I don't think it's ugly. I think it's beautiful because, just knowing who it's made by. But it just wasn't his colors.
Yeah. If they're not your colors, it's hard. It's hard to keep it out on the bed, if it's not your thing. That's a really good story, though. I like that he trusted you. He's like, I know you're cool. Are you cool? You're cool. Yeah. I love it. And by the way, Teacher Stitch, thank you so much for subscribing at Tier 1. You've been subscribed for 14 months. I appreciate you so much. It's great to see you here. You are among friends, and it's just wonderful that you're here. Look like you all. Okay, yes, you're talking about the construction. Hey, Robin. The construction of the quilt. Yes. So how, I mean, have you all done this? Hey, Mom, you're just in time. You got here just in time. Mom, this quilt, I was wondering if other people, I just talked about this quilt, Mom, and about how this man, this handsome fellow, he had blocks and fabric from his great aunt, who started a quilt for the centennial, and she was a little nugget, and she was small, and she was 6 years old, and she didn't finish the thing, and so he took her blocks that she had made and the fabric that she had made, and he made this quilt in 1976, a bicentennial quilt. Fabulous, right? And so I told the good people of Quilt Nerd that I've been thinking a lot about this thing, about, finishing quilts that were started, like, what does it mean to, to have these things? And so Mom and I have been playing around with this idea, and Mom's just in time. Hey, Angelina. And so, yeah, exactly. It's a collaboration. Exactly, a collaboration. And so I've got some pictures that I got permission from my mom to show you kind of what's been on her design wall. And Mom, now that you're here, thank you, Robin, for that reminder. Indeed, tomorrow, Sunday social. So, Mom, now that you're here, I could get you on the guest star thing, but we're not going to try that. You just have to talk in the chat a little bit about, can you tell us about these checkerboard blocks? And I know a little, so I'll fill in because we don't just want dead air, but just, I could kind of riff here, and you can maybe give us a little bit of info, or just, I don't know. I know that you don't have a problem just talking off the cuff. I learned it by watching you. These blocks I know that you got at the AQSG seminar, because at the American Quilt Study Group seminar each year, there's an auction, and it's fun, and there's a silent auction, and then there's this big auction at the banquet, and so, hey babe, and you bought these blocks as far as I can recall, and they were loose, and so you've put together the setting. Right? I mean, I love this. I love this. Hey, Mama Llama, thank you so much for subscribing at Tier 1. You subscribed for 7 months. Hey, you know what, Mom? I could call you. Oh, but I'm on Zoom with Stephanie. We worked on that today, Stephanie, Eric and I. We worked hard on trying to figure out how to pipe in the thing. So we made progress. We really did. It takes a long time. Anyway, my mom says, I bought a stack of 4 patches, at the AQSG silent auction. How much were they? Do you mind saying? How many did you get? And how much were they? Mama Llama, thank you so much for subscribing. At Tier 1, you've been subscribed for 7 months. I got Mama Llama and my mama. And yo mama. All up in the chat. I don't want to talk. I'm sewing. Oh, God. Okay. Well. You know what? Okay. It's fine. It's good. I respect that. I totally respect that. It's a perfect... It's very Mom. Okay, anyway, so I will tell about the next picture, because this is all we know about this, is that you got these blocks at AQSG and you're putting them together. I love the black. I love the white. You're doing a fine job. And these fabrics are terrific. Hold on. I don't know what era, like, I know what era. It's, 19th century. These fabrics seem to be, at least some of them are old enough to be 19th century, but I mean, I don't know how old these are, and Mom's not talking, so fine. But I like the way you've put the shirting print in the middle. I don't know. I never would have thought of this setting, but you're doing a great job. Anyway, okay. So then there's this one. And like I told you, Mom and I have been playing around with this idea of finishing tops that were never finished, and taking orphan blocks and seeing what we can do with them, okay? This top, my mother did not sew this. My mom did not. This one, she's got some problems. And I love, oh, does it really, babe? Thanks. This I found languishing on the internet. Now, I found it, and there was something about it, okay? There was something about this thing. And it was billed as, mid-century. Now, what can I say? I was like, there's something about this quilt top that feels very like boho, like very Bahamian. It felt very, I don't know. There was something about it. What do you like? What you like? You know, you fall in love with the people you fall in love with. I just liked it, and it was like $12 or something. So I got it, and it was a mess. In fact, for Halloween, I wore this quilt top. I put it over my head. Remember, this is the one. It was in tatters. It was crazy. So I take it, and I show my mom when I was home in Winterset. I was like, I really like this top. Oh no, that's not the one. Hang on. And hold on. I think I gotta get this. Yeah. And Mom and I played around with it, and I loved it. She was like, I can't. That's a quilt top I can never understand. I don't understand why you got it. I don't get the fabrics. They're not my colors. Whatever. But she started kind of playing around with it, and she got more into it than I was even. I mean, she here's what she did. Here's what she did with it. We had to take it apart. We had to take the whole thing apart because it was in such bad shape. Oh, look at that. An old picture of the Fonz family. But we had to actually unsew all the half square triangles. The half square triangles had to be pulled apart because they were just... Wait
a minute. So that is from that poor, sad, misshapen item that was in the...
Yes, ma'am.
That is amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing?
They're such beautiful fabrics.
Yes. And so as we were working on this, I mean, it was really wild because I knew that this thing, and that's a terrible picture too, but like the heart fabrics and the gold and the red and the blue, I don't know, but I had a feeling. And then Mom turns it into this, sorry, new program, remember, but it's better, but it's still new. Turns it into this sort of traditional, fun, funky thing. And I mean, it's up on the design wall and she's making it happen. And it's so great. Genius. Mom, you hearing this? You want to chat now? You want to stop sewing and look at the chat because everybody loves it? Okay, here, let me tell you. Mother Nature. Hey, Mother Nature. Polka dots. Yeah. I love it. Genius. Wow. Stunning. Great improvement. Beautiful. Wow. Lovely. Love what you did with it. Yes. Amazing. That top was the worst sewing I've ever seen in my life, Mom. It's true. Well, I've got another one in my possession right now that is brutal. Anyway, I got to tell you. So Mom, and let's go to this thing. Yeah. Whew. Mom has been, this is another quilt up on Mom's design wall. And what is so remarkable about what's happening here is that Mom hasn't made this many quilts. She hasn't spent this much time in her studio in a really long time. And it's this fun that we're having exploring this idea. I mean, these blocks, these double pink blocks that you see were also Orphan blocks. And so now, Mom's playing around with these cornerstones and sashing strips and everything. They're not polka dots. Yeah, they're hearts. Heinous fabrics, Mom says. Yeah, you really, really hated it. Yeah, I'm all fired up, says Marianne Fonz. She's doing, look at that. Isn't that great? It's so Marianne. It's extremely Marianne. Oh, I like the red the cornerstones, Mom, in the corners. That's great. It's charming. It's delightful. And we're learning a lot about, like, what does it mean to... Oh, yeah. Oh, here. This is the finished one. I forgot I had that. You learn about sewing with older things, and anyway, there's more to hear about that. There's more to come about all of this. But Mom, what is the dimension of this quilt? Ugly ducklings to swans, Penny Catherine, brilliant. The 5 extra blocks I made from my stash. Oh, that's right. Oh my God. So Mom made 5, nope, let's just get you out of the mix. Okay. No, don't say it. We're fine. No, excuse me. What? Oh, how dare you do that to me? No. Acorn quit unexpectedly. That's nice. That's fine. It's a good thing I'm extremely organized and all of my things are in a folder. So annoying. It's fine. Wow. Totally cool, Acorn. That doesn't make me nervous at all about using you. Okay, just give it a second. So Mom is saying that 3 of the blocks in that quilt are new. You're saying they're new? They're new fabrics. Is that what you're saying? That you used like double pink from your own
I think
stash?
she means the one where she got the stack of blocks, these.
Those.
That
Okay.
she had to pull from her own stash to make up extras.
See. Okay. So it's not the cross it's not the one I was just showing. It's this one. You put your own fabrics into this one? Like it's supposed to. Yep. Hey Lisa. So, okay. So these, okay, yeah. This one's another one. This is another one that Mom's working on. I mean, these are old. The red is her, and I picked that, right? Mom, you have to give me credit for that because we were talking about what the setting squares should be on these old blocks. And we had some different ideas, and I mean, just wait. You know what? You're going to see more of this. This is something that's kind of happening right now where this, taking these older things and remixing them, making them come alive, not deconstructing quilts that are finished, taking tops and blocks that are languishing in limbo, right? Limbo, and giving them a life. And I can tell you that the blocks you see are from about 1890, and they're fabulous and they're beautiful. And they were, Mom, are you sure it was the worst sewing you ever saw was on that one quilt? This, our terrible little, the one we said, the mid-century one? Because this one was pretty bad. And we got these blocks, we got this top from a friend of ours, and, the sewing was so bad. And the setting blocks on this top were white muslin. And it was beautiful and great, but it was also, it was white. And so when Mom saw just how bad the top had been sewn together and that to quilt it would be kind of a disaster, we were like, well, let's take the blocks from it, because the muslin almost seemed like an afterthought. It was weird, but the piecing was in the blocks. And so to use the blocks in a top, right, that would sing, was not in any way, dismantling the work that the quilter did. No, and believe me, when you see, and when you're doing something that's like, when you're like scavenging for parts, or you're seeing something through. So it was like, well, if the muslin is really jacked up and ripped and stained and gross, and we're going to replace it with something, we're going to restore this, we could do whatever we wanted. What color should it be? What should we do? And so it was like, well, what if you go darker with it? What if you go darker with this thing? And Mom sent me a video of a few different fabrics that she had pulled from her stash, and I was like, this one, because this flower, you see, it has a friend, and that's something my mom taught me a long time ago, is if you're going to have a scrap quilt, make sure that your different colors in your scraps have a friend somewhere else. And this sort of grayish beige is right there. It's right there. And I just think this is going to be, it's going to be great. So Mom said I could pick the perfect red. That's nice. Mother Nature, this is great. I have several sampler quilt blocks that I need to do something with. Is that right? Do you really? Well, I think you should do this kind of thing. The white was an old worn out sheet, not even muslin. Oh, really? Wow. And Lisa asks, were the original tops on blocks machine or hand sewn? Oh, yeah. So many of the ones I'm seeing are hand pieced. So many of them. And Steph, you've done some of this work before too, right?
Yeah, it'll either be hand sewn with very large diameter thread.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or haphazardly machined.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you also, the chat box is all messed up over there. You guys, I'm sorry. Dang it. I'm so sorry about that. It's running off the thing. Well, that's too bad. I knew that when Eric fixed that today, I knew he didn't. I knew. He was like, yeah, I fixed it. And I was like, I think the chat's going to run off the box. He's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. So perhaps you know what I'm going to do tonight, just because that looks so, like, amateur. I'm just going to take the chat off the screen, okay? So You got to come over to Twitch and be in the chat if you want that. Okay, so here's one more. And then we got to move on. Okay, this is the one we talked about. And, this is the one. We talked about this one too. And here's Mom sewing some of those sashing strips, flippy corners. That's a great way to make those units. You know what I'd like to do, Mom? You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to teach with you again. I didn't think I would ever want to teach anymore just because I just can't. I just couldn't, Whoops. But I would teach a class with you, and it would be really fun. And I think we should do it. What do you think, everybody? Should Mom and I teach a class together? That would be really fun. Oh, Mama Llama says, I've used your mom's friend approach ever since you mentioned it on another episode. It's freed up my scrap quilting so much. Really? Mama Llama, that's amazing. And that came right when I was thinking I want to teach with Mom again. That's pretty cool. Yes, please. Okay, good. People wanted to. Hey, Bip. People want us to do it. That'd be really fun. Hey, Padma. Teach a class together and make it online so we can all join. I would be very happy to do it. Okay, the last one I'm going to show you is this one. This was fun. So I found these blocks not attached to one another. They were all separate. These dove blocks. You can see where the block is. I don't have to explain it. They're huge, right? Like 20 inches or something. And how many are there? 20? Or I can't remember. Anyway, but they're super like 60s or 70s, I think. I think it's hard to tell. I don't know exactly, but the style of it, the fabric, it's not cotton. It's not like quilter's cotton. It's a poly blend, I think. And I took them home when I was back in Winterset, when I went back to Winterset. And I was going to stitch them together. Didn't get to it. Mom whipped it together. It took you, like 20 minutes or something? Well, I mean, maybe an hour, right, to do it. And it was kind that you did it. But again, I just want to say that this whole, hey, what about these orphans out there in the world? It has fired my mom up so much that it was not like, Mary, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. Sew those blocks together. You can do that. She, it was like, sure, I'll do it. She was happy to do it. So that's a big deal because, Mom's a writer and she's been working on her novel and on another novel, and she just hasn't been in the sewing studio that much since she basically retired. But it's changed. She can't get enough. 12 dove blocks, 20 inches each. 20 inches square. Couple of hours. Yes, Mademoiselle Larry, hello. And the doves do look like the Woodstock 69 poster. Totally they do. And so okay, I'm going to show you something. I didn't even know I was going to do it. I'm going to show you. And Katie and Kay and Dee Dee, if you're in the chat, I'm going to get this fabric from, and they've actually told me, we never want anyone to think that we're promoting the show or anything like that. This is me saying how much I love their quilt shop. Okay, Picking Daisies. I'm going to get fabric from Picking Daisies out in San Luis Obispo, California. It happens to be It's Okay and Dee Dee Brew Crew's quilt shop. Anyway, I had to mention it because I'm going to order the backing fabric for this quilt, and I want to show you what I got because I think you're going to like it. Okay, hang on. Come back here. Okay, I know where I can get it. And picking the backing fabric, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. You got to be careful. And actually, I am going to do.
And if I may interject, hopefully your mom doesn't mind. Those blocks that were on the right hand side, I believe, were her Patrick and Prose blocks.
Yes.
I saw her working on one of them at a Sunday social.
Yep, absolutely. It is true. It is very true. Let me get this. Okay. I'm excited to show. I didn't know I was going to show you this, but I want to show it to you all because I hope. I don't know. It's okay if you don't like it. If you don't like it, it's totally fine. But I was like, I really love wovens, and actually, Dee Marie and I had a chat one day about backing fabrics and just really, I don't know. We were talking about fabric and the wovens, y'all, and the linens and the chambrays. I love that stuff. And so I thought I want this on the back of that dove quilt. And what I want to do, you like it? Okay, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Stephanie K go.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't just like it. I bought some of it.
You did?
From
Okay, you did.
Katie.
Yeah. Okay, let me show you. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when you put it together, because I know you want to see, we want to look at the quilt and the backing. I don't know if I can. So that's Alexa Abeg. And I'm going to have it together for you. Just one second. Here we go. I got all this ready. I'm doing it on the fly, but I'm also, I'm running things. Okay, here we go. You ready? Okay. You see how it's gonna look? Come here now. Come here. Yeah? Yes, good, right? It's good. It's gonna look great. It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be so cool, man. It's like gonna be like 70s-ish. And it's like, it's got that, like, I feel like Druid Godmother and I could like hang out, and like talk about this quilt. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, babe, you get it. So anyway, I think it's really going to be great. And by the way, that's not to scale. That stripe is not so wide, but it, it's very serape. Like it felt like a serape kind of thing. And then this bold back, right, on the, and what's been fun about this, I'm so glad you like it. Okay, I actually got to order it, babe, we could talk about it all night. Okay. So anyway, what I have had so much fun doing with this stuff is designing again, because I really like it, but I don't. I mean, I like working on this kind of idea with my mom, and you're gonna hear more about it. I think Mom and I think we're making quilts together again, and that feels amazing. So yeah, ha ha ha. Anyway, I actually need to figure out the binding. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'll think about that. Okay, so that is the scoop. Is there anything else? I don't think so. No, that's it for that. We're gonna take a cake break because I need to figure out what I'm gonna do. Because the video I was gonna watch with you all. Oh, we'll see. Oh, it's good. It's really good. Okay, we're gonna watch a video together, and I put it on about 1.5 speed, and it was fine. So the video's an hour, but it's really good, and B, at 1.5 speed, it's much shorter than that. So we'll just see how we do, and we'll take a cake break, and we'll be right back. Maybe we'll watch half of it and then half of it later. Okay, so here we go. Cake break starting now. Yeah. Oh, I'm still on the thing, and I'm just my green screen showing. Oh no. Okay, I'm going away. Bye.
Cake break. Oh no, I forgot to prepare anything today.
You can just, you could read the phone book, Cake, honestly. It's true.
Well, guys, this week went by so fast. And I was kind of doing things from the other side of my life, which unfortunately doesn't have as much to do with quilts. It's very sad. But I can say that I learned a tiny bit more about Dr. Dunton this week, and I have to say that I am standing on the shoulders of giants. I have gotten some insider information that not only are there lots of very important quilt world folks who love Dr. Dunton, but Questa Benberry and Joyce Gross loved Dr. Dunton. Apparently they used to talk about him all the time. And so it's just very exciting. And I heard somewhere, I think I saw on Instagram, that a certain turnip of hope had got its roots on a copy of old quilts. Is that right, Angelina? I have to know more about this. If you guys follow the Turnip of Hope on Instagram, you may see this. It popped up today in my feed. Yeah, okay. So I wasn't seeing things. Yes, Mother Nature. I do have the book. I bought it for Christmas. My husband and I, we're at the point where our parents are just like, here's some money, go buy yourself something. So, I got the book from I guess it was a person that was doing estate sales. And so I was able to do a little bit of negotiation to get it down to a a price I could afford. So, yes, the book it's interesting. And Angelina, I don't know if you have been able to read Side by Side with the Turnip, but I will say, why I love him. Yeah, it's sweet. He's a sweet guy. But there is a little bit of problematic stuff in there. I don't know if you've gotten to that part yet, where he talks about the Hawaiian quilters. It's a kind of a problematic section, but oh, okay, Mother Nature, one of your guild members had it. Yeah. You know, I don't know if is it in like the cultural zeitgeist of quilt research and history right now, is everybody's into Dr. Dunton. I have to say, I did not know about Dr. Dunton until probably a year ago. And I mean, it really had a lot to do with the show. Just, you know, the chit chat between all of us, you know, some of you who are the OG quilt nerds will remember, you know, us having conversations about stuff. And I want to say that it was probably a textile talk, or it might have been something with the New England Quilt Museum had a piece of like a free, you know, talk. It was one of those. And they were talking about the Baltimore album quilts. And, you know, I was very, very interested in Baltimore album quilts. And then heard them mention, of course, Mary Simon, who is the possible originator of the Baltimore album quilt concept. And then Dr. Dunton, who was this interesting man who was doing a lot of research about quilts, even though he was an occupational therapist and was in this, you know, world of psychiatry and psychology. So, yeah. So I guess so many of us, I guess, have these obsessions, and they're recent obsessions because we found them here at Quilt Nerd.
Woohoo!
Right, Mary?
Yeah.
I think Mary has fostered obsessions of all sorts.
Hell yeah. Truffle chips, Dr. Dunton. You know, I'm telling you, it's a beautiful world.
So, Angelina and Mother Nature, as far as the books that you've seen and or had in your possession, I'm curious to know, do they have in the very front cover, and Mother Nature, you might have to ask your guild member, does it have the number written in it? Because and I feel bad because I talk about Dr. Dunton all the time, so I'm sorry if I've related this story before, but he only published a certain number of these books. I think it was at 1,000. I have mine right here.
I think you said 1,000. It wasn't 100,
I think it's 1,000.
Right?
No, it was in the thousands, but I can't remember now if it was 1,000 or 2,000. And it's stamped. Yes, 2,000. Okay, so there's 2,000 copies of the book, the first printing. And then it says, this is number blank. And they were supposed to, you know, whoever sold it, I guess, him directly, I'm not sure. Yes, Myra, the Baltimore Album Textile Talks. Yes, I thought that was probably what it was. I feel like maybe was Pam Weeks on that Textile Talk, maybe, and that's why I'm thinking New England Quilt Museum. I can't remember. Yeah. But anyway, so the book, he self-published this book, 2,000 copies, and you imagine 1946. It's a hardbound book. It has pictures in it, although they're black and white. There is one plate at the front that is a color, which kind of a big deal, you know, in the 40s to have a color.
So expensive. I mean, I'm sure it was his money, right?
Yeah, not just the lithograph of like pictures, like, you know, children's books, but rather a actual photograph. Anyway, so the book didn't do well, and yes, it did cost a fortune. And from what I understand, I've seen it written somewhere that he ended up losing like $3,000 of his own money. Oof. Just because the book didn't sell. And so those of you that have seen inside the book, you realize, well, it's not. Oh, so maybe she had to reprint. Well, nonetheless, I mean, you see what's in it. Right? It's probably about a fifth of the book or a quarter of the book is really interesting stuff. Like he talks about his process and himself and his nervous ladies and quilts. I mean, just you could tell his absolute obsession. And then the rest of it is these very detailed descriptions of these black and white pictures. And they're small pictures. It's not a huge book. It's not what we're used to, those, you know, big coffee table size books or the big format books. So anyway, I could see where people were like, I'm supposed to look at this tiny picture and then figure out what these 12 pages are describing all the blocks, right?
Yeah.
So in any event, poor Dr. Dunton.
But lucky, because here you are and you want to do stuff.
Yeah.
And
yes.
if you this group, this little crew we've got going here, we really do, like, you all have connections that, like, I could really, like, benefit from. It was Sherlock So's. She was like, I'm gonna get in touch with somebody at Christie's because the person I'm researching, like, maybe sold quilts at Christie's or something, and the lead ended up not, going anywhere. But it's like that. We work together. And Kathy Worden-Bernard, oh my God, she was helping with Ancestry.com and whatever. And Stephanie, I know Mary Kay Waldvogel, right? Mary Kay Waldvogel knows Bets Ramsey, and I know Bets Ramsey too. So it's like Mary Kay was like, hey, I know about Dr. Dunton, and Bets knows a lot. So now you're connected, right? Are you emailing with them? Yeah.
I am connected, and I didn't want to just totally out Mary Kay here, but
yeah,
yes, I have been talking to Mary Kay Waldvogel.
Yeah.
And
she watches.
Very exciting. I had to fangirl a little bit, like, I love your books.
Yeah.
I don't think I actually told her that, but if she happens to be listening tonight, I have your books, and I love them very much. And I guess it might be okay to sort of give you a behind the scenes little bit of information. In the book that she, why am I drawing a blank on the name of it? It's right here. Patchwork Souvenirs. The book that's about the is it 1930?
Century of Progress, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Century of Progress. So she and Barbara Brackman produced this book, and apparently they only had black and white pictures for some of these things, and Dr. Dunton had seen these quilts and had described them. So she and Barbara were able to sort of decipher some of this information to figure out, like, exactly what the quilts look like. Because they only had black and white pictures. So, Dr. Dunton.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, yeah. So the whole point is that, if you are interested in a thing, this is a resource, man. It's not a resource like AQSG is a resource. You should all be members of American Quilt Study Group. I mean, what a great organization, But we're a network. So if you ever want to do a thing, and by the way, you don't ever have, when I did the intro tonight, I meant to say to Eva, if you're still watching, if you want to make quilts and you just love making them, you don't ever have to care about you don't. And I'm not saying that, it's not facetious. You don't have to care about the history. You don't have to, like, do a research project or, like, buy the books we talk about on the show. You don't have to. It doesn't matter. It's fine. You're part of the story of quilt making. It's amazing. It's beautiful. If you're into it, great. If you're into this nerdy stuff, that's totally fine. You might just be nerdy about your 1/4-inch seam, which is also super legit and, like, much respect. Seriously. But if you are nerdy and you don't want to do a research project, you're just like, is Mary pressuring me? Are we being pressured? It's like, I don't want to do anything. Fine, totally fine. Like, it's completely fine. But I don't know. It's like the stuff that we love to look at on the show. Like, somebody did something. Somebody did a thing. They either made a quilt or they wrote about it. Like this quilt, behind me. This centennial, bicentennial. Are you kidding me? Somebody had to write about this. Put it in a book. Publish it. Otherwise, we'd never know about it. So, and you'd be surprised. I mean, a great editor can really, really help you, make your writing sing and everything. So don't worry about, like, I'm not a good writer. Don't worry about it. You should see some of the things I've seen. It's that Rutger Hauer speech from Blade Runner. I've seen things that would make, anyway. I've seen writing that was pretty rough, and I, and together with the writer, we made it really sing. So don't worry about your writing. So don't worry about it. Just get it done. Okay, so let's do a thing. We're gonna watch a thing together. I'm really glad everybody's here. I'm grateful that you're here. Oh, Robin has a cup. That's the sound we play when research projects are brewing, and Robin has a few. Maybe in her mind. That's great. Love to hear it. So there is a group. There's an organization, the African American Quilt Circle in Durham, North Carolina. Okay, and this group of women, amazing, so cool and interesting. And I don't know much about them, and I learned about them for the first time because of Quilt Folk magazine. And I used to be editor of Quilt Folk magazine, but I'm not editor these days. I stepped down in 2021 to do other things. Oh, and do you have the link for the textile talk that's on YouTube? I think it's on YouTube now. Me and Mike and I did a talk for SAQA and for the textile talk, SAQA and International Quilt Museum on Wednesday about Quilt Folk. Anyway, I was editor, writer, and then an editor, and so forth. And then I left because I wanted to do stuff that was different. And so I've been working with Quilt Folk ever since. I've never stopped. But I don't edit the magazine anymore, and I just have to catch up on things, right? And this is the North Carolina issue, and I will show it to you now. So it's North Carolina, and this is a couple issues ago now. South Dakota has come out since then, and oh God, boy did I know at one time what issue we were on and where it was. But in this issue of Quilt Folk, one of the people they talk to is Kimberly. Kimberly Pierce Cartwright, okay? And Kimberly Pierce Cartwright is a member. This is from Quilt Folk, okay? When Kimberly Pierce Cartwright presented her first quilt to the members of the African American Quilt Circle of Durham in 2006, she was met with thunderous applause. "It made my heart swell," she recalled. "I said, I have found my people." She'd also found her medium, or perhaps more accurately, her mediums. Oh, I'm so sorry. This was written by Frances O'Rourke Dowell, who is a novelist, and she wrote Birds in Air. You may know Frances O'Rourke Dowell. Anyway, so this is Frances writing. She'd also found her medium, Frances says, or perhaps more accurately, her mediums. Kimberly's art, her art quilts, dolls, and quilted postcards demonstrate an innovative use of fabric, paint, and embellishments in her portrayal of Black life in America. Her work has a folk art sensibility that belies the sophisticated choices she makes, from Maffa, 1798, with its hand-dyed fabrics and ceramic figures, to her quilted portraits of well-known figures such as Shirley Chisholm and civil rights advocate Fannie Lou Hamer. The pictures I'm showing you don't correlate necessarily to what I'm reading. I just pulled a few pictures from Quilt Folk and I'm showing them to you. Ajuri Watala took these photographs. She's so good, and I just show you this because I want you to know about Quilt Folk. I want you to read Quilt Folk. It's a really important magazine. Brianna Briggs is the editor now. She's doing an amazing job. She's so good at it. And I bring it up too because in the North Carolina issue, they talk about the heritage quilters, and this all leads us to this African American quilting circle. So Charbrion Plummer wrote an article about the heritage quilters, and here's what they say. So this is their headquarters. So if you ask the heritage quilters in North Carolina, right, about their origin story, they will tell you that the group was birthed from a need for community when one of its founding members, Jerry Ann Johnson, helped establish the African American Quilt Circle in Durham, where she was active while working in Durham full-time. Back home in Warrenton, Johnson found herself longing for the connections that were forged at the African American Quilt Circle. As fate would have it, she connected with these other ladies who possessed a love for quilting and had a similar longing. And upon forming the group, felt it was important to choose a space that was connected to the African American experience, which led them to the Warren County Senior Center, once home to John R. Hawkins High School. To John R. Hopkins High School, a historically black school. The building became a safe and creative space for its 10 inaugural members. Okay, so there's all these connections, right, to the African American Quilting Circle in Durham, North Carolina, and so I want to know about it. And it turns out that there's a really great video on YouTube about it, with these 4 women speaking, and yeah, like I said, the it's a little. So we're at 9:20. You know, we go a couple hours. You know, I didn't sleep very well last night, so we'll see if I run out of gas. But let's watch some of this because it was produced by Duke University, and here's the description of it. In this wide-ranging public conversation, Marjorie Diggs Freeman, Jerry Ann King Johnson, okay, the person I mentioned, and Sauda A. Zara all members of the African American Quilt Circle of Durham, discuss how the group got started, its history of community engagement, how politics informs its art, the history of black quilting, and the future of the form. Fellow AAQC member Kim F. Hall moderates. And Steph, I sent you a link of like, from the website, you might already put it in there, but...
Yeah, I just posted it.
Thank you. Yeah, because there's much more to say about this. And I could have read you more history of this, but why don't we, let's hear it from them. So, okay, wait, hang on. Let me make sure I've got this right. Yeah, okay. So here we go. Let's watch some of this because it's very interesting. And like I said before, the production value of this video is really good. Like we're not just going to sit and watch these women talk at the table. There's images. It's nice. It's really nice. So, okay, let's take a look.
The center. One time someone said to me, "Why are your quilts so sad?" And I never thought they were sad.
Okay, that's a little bit too fast. Hang on. I got to go back to that. Just a minute. Hold on. I had it on 1.5, but that's a little bit too fast. I'm going to put it on 1.25. Okay.
This is Duke University.
It was important that we were a circle because we had this idea of participatory teaching and learning from each other. And we always thought about having equal voice and ears in the process, because in a circle, everybody is the same distance from the center. One time someone said to me, "Why are your quilts so sad?" And I never thought they were sad, but I think what she was trying to say to me is that they touched on an emotion that I think sometimes we don't want to touch on. And whether that is women's issues or lynching, I mean, I've done a lot of quilts that deal with those kind of sensitive topics that we need to address. And quilting and just dealing with textiles is a wonderful way to kind of bridge that commonality, that human commonality, so that you can approach that sensitive subject in a warm way.
These are our heirlooms. We didn't have sums of money or big houses or anything else to pass on to children. It was the very simple, simplistic things. And I think the African American Quilt Circle as a whole has brought the value of this handwork, the value of this history to the forefront, so we know the importance that quilts have.
So
one thing I want to do, first of all, Bridgewater, thank you so much, my dear. Oh, we didn't even talk about quilt spotting. That's going to have to be on another show. Thank you for subscribing for 15 months. It's wonderful. I mean, you're just the best. You add so much to this community. Everybody, I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for your support. And the reason that I want to have my mug up here is not because I would like to have it up here, but when we watch a video on the show, it's important that we support the creator who made the video. And this is what you call free and fair use, right? We're making commentary, transformative content. It's like law and stuff that you can do this, but you don't want to just play the video, like on your channel. Like it needs to be transformative, right? And so we can talk about it like we're doing now. We can pause, we can chat. But if I'm blocking something, it's kind of just something you have to live with a little bit. One thing I could do, which would probably be good. Let me do this actually. Why don't I just make it a little smaller on the screen? Like you just have to do this stuff. Like I just, trust me, I'm a professional. You have to make sure that somebody who wants to watch the real thing is gonna go to their channel and watch it instead of just like, we're not trying to pirate anything. You know what I'm saying? Not my style. Not interested. Okay. And the chat. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me. I think that's gonna be good. That's gonna be fine. Okay. Great. This is good stuff. Okay. Oh yeah, heirlooms were to pass on. All right, so let's check it out.
I'm going to start off with a very basic question that my cousin, who's known me all his life, in my life, asked me. So, why do you ladies quilt? You can buy a quilt.
But you can't buy one like we make.
Okay.
Okay?
It's a good answer.
I quilt because it relaxes me. It's something I thoroughly enjoy. and I can express myself in a whole lot of different ways. It's an inexpensive art medium. You can use old clothes if you have nothing else. But I find that, as I say, it's relaxing, it's very creative for me, and it brings me peace.
I quilt because it is a way for me to express my creativity. It also validates my creativity. I love knowing that I have come up with something in my head and worked through it, problem solved, and then I have something. It's like magic to me. So it's very validating. It's endless possibilities. You can make it what you want. You can stay in your middle lane, or you can go all the way up there. It just really depends on what your personal interest is. It's very freeing. Anything goes. You can make it your own, and it brings me peace as well.
And I quilt because I like to solve problems as well. And I quilt to make bed quilts. It's interesting for me because when I started quilting as a young girl, I quilted with my mother, and the whole purpose was to make bed covers for the winter. So some of that need to have bed covers still motivate me in my quilting, but I try in making the quilts to capture some of the elements of good
Good night,
bed
Susan.
making. For example, my big mama used to have these chenille bedspreads, and they would always have a bouquet of flowers in the middle. So in my quilts, especially the early quilts that I made, I tried to capture that floral, that fancy, and the little ribbons and so forth. So, but I still quilt to make bed covers, and as I get on this journey, I'm finding myself expressing other ideas in my quilts.
This is somewhat related to, and I think we know some of the answer from what you've said, but what do you think distinguishes quilting as a textile art from other textile arts like knitting or crocheting? And I know a lot of people, if you go through the publications of the Guild, you'll see that a lot of people do a lot of different textile arts and also visual arts, painting and whatnot.
Part of what makes this video so good, and like, I don't know, it's easy to say, if you're ever, like if you've seen a YouTube video of a lecture or a panel discussion, I mean, it's really, it's like you're way back, the camera was way back in the back of the room, or it's static, and like, I don't know, if you're ever, like at AQSG, I live streamed some stuff, and like, I don't know, if you're, I don't know, like somebody out there watching this now or watching it later, like if you're ever going to be on a panel, or if you're ever going to give a lecture or something, I mean, like somebody in your world, or you might have to work a little bit or something, but like to find somebody to record it and have like just like two vantage points, like it sounds like a lot, but now with phones and everything you can do it. I mean, to be able to cut a video on YouTube like this of this panel discussion, I mean, this is so nice with the quilts dropped in and everything, and then it's a lot of work. It looks easy, the people make it look easy, but it's just that little bit of extra makes it so good. So I don't know, I just throwing that out there. Maybe some of you are like program directors for a lecture series at your university or something, and it's like, oh man, please do that a little bit, because I love how they did this, and it's really nice to watch. Yeah. J.H. Cassin's here.
I selected quilting because I have done all the other kinds of needlework. I started out, doing embroidery. From embroidery, I went to counted cross stitch. From counted cross stitch on to needlepoint. And then I decided, after I tried all those different ones, and of course, I used to make everything I wore back in the day. But everything there, you followed a pattern. There was a set design. You had to make the sweater a certain size. And all of those things, to me, I was programmed, okay? And some people can do it without, create their own patterns, but I couldn't. And I found that quilting gave me the greatest degree of creativity. It was manageable. It was inexpensive. I didn't need to buy fancy stuff. I could use old clothes. I could use what I had. And the other thing about quilting now is that there are so many new materials, new techniques, new ideas, and things that were unthought of, a long time ago. So that, to me, that's the difference between, other needlework and quilting. It's more expressive for me.
I knit and I crochet and I embroider. I think, well, for me, all of those textile arts, it gives me, I like to do things with my hands. And so I don't know, in terms of the satisfaction of using my hands, I don't know if there's anything for me personally that distinguishes quilting from some of the other textile arts that I know. But one thing that's different with the quilting for me, you can, with all of the fabrics and the new techniques, you can express, I think, a broader range of themes and ideas.
I would like to just echo what my two quilt sisters said. One thing for me was that I came from a background of doing a lot of other things as well. And I did crewel embroidery for like 10, 15 years, and I sewed clothes since I was a teenager. And one thing I think that made quilting so attractive to me was it allowed me to merge my love of fabric and sewing. And I'm like, wow, okay, I don't have to make clothes all the time. I can still use, that fabric to create something else. So that's why quilting basically became my love, because I could still use my machine, still sew, and honor that commitment that I made when I was in high school, that sewing would always be an extension of my life. So quilting just became a part of that extension.
Yeah, I feel like my journey's a lot like Marjorie's, in that I did crewel and embroidery, and my grandmother taught me a lot of those things, and there was something about quilting that just stuck. And I think partly because I liked when I fit. And my mother sewed, has been sewing since she was 12, so I was always surrounded with by fabric. And I liked when I made the quilts, seeing the things from clothes I couldn't wear anymore or I'd outgrown, but the fabric kind of always spoke to like my mother's sewing history and our family history, and so there's something about that.
Okay, let me stop. So several of these women, and by the way, what I was looking up is Jerry Ann Johnson helped establish the African American Quilt Circle, which they're getting to, right? This is celebrating 20 years of quilting, the story of Durham's African American Quilt Circle, okay? So they're getting the background, right? And then they'll talk about the actual organization. But I just wanted to say that Jerry Ann Johnson helped establish the group. And then I'm going to find the other name, Zara. But anyway, my question for you was, like, several of the women have talked about they're making quilts specifically sort of referencing their grandmother's or their mother's quilts. One of the women said, there were flowers in the middle of all her quilts. And I was just wondering about, my mom makes quilts, and she's probably not here anymore because she didn't want to talk. Yeah, she didn't want to talk. She wanted to sew and have wine, I'm sure. But anyway, I don't make quilts that look like my mom's, except that when I do sew, they're scrap quilts, which my mom loves, that's totally Fons and Porter, right? They're scrap quilts. I make quilts with blocks. I don't really do the improv piecing thing. I don't know, maybe I could, but I also needle turned applique I love, and that's totally my mom's jam. So I really do, as a quilter, I'm kind of like my mother's daughter, right? Which is interesting. So I was just wondering about that. It's just interesting to think about. Certainly our intro quilt, that fellow who used his great aunt's fabric and blocks in his quilt 100 years later was referencing that. Anyway, okay.
It really excites me. I also told, when my cousin asked me, I told him, well, I think quilters also like to buy a lot,
Mom's
board fabric and create color and have color all around them. So, and so you've begun to tell us a little bit about your quilting journey, and I'm wondering if you guys could tell us a little bit more specifically how you learned to quilt, and if you have a preferred technique.
Well, I'll start. I learned to quilt from my grandmother and my mother. My grandmother grew up on a sharecropping farm in southwest Georgia, and she made quilts. And she would sell the quilts for $5, $10, $15. That was a lot of money during the 1930s, 1920s. My mother was also a quilter, and it was really with my mother that my mother was more directive. This is how you do this. I watched my grandmother, and my grandmother was a lot more creative than my mother. And they had that little rivalry going, mother-in-law, daughter, mother-in-law kind of thing. And my mother really wanted to make quilts like my grandmother, but she never could do that. So I was about 7 years old, and I did the 9-patch and 4-patch, and the half square triangle. And we would put quilts, the patterns together based on those designs. And then I think it was like I know in the 1970s, I used to sew for a African dress shop in Washington, D.C. And I would go over every other day and pick up a stack of fabric, come home, and I would make the dashiki for the man and make the dashiki for the sister and then the little baby dashiki. I did all of that. And so I had all of these scraps left over. And I remember this, in 1977, I was flipping through a McCall's pattern book, and there was a quilt pattern. Now, I had not seen anything like that in a pattern book.
In McCall's?
Because we used to get patterns out of the newspaper.
That's interesting.
Or out of the almanac or something like that. So, and it was the Carolina Lily.
Sorry,
and
McCall's.
I thought that was the most
interesting.
beautiful pattern I had ever seen. The diamonds and the little stems and the leaves. So I decided I would take all of those scraps left over from those African garbs and garments I had made and do it in the Carolina Lily. And then I would use corduroy for the stem.
Yeah.
And,
nice.
And I had dyed this goldenrod yellow. Anyway, so as a child, and then, McCall pattern book, and that's how I got started again. But that's pretty much my journey. Okay.
That is interesting to me that McCall, she was finding garment patterns in the pattern, but they had quilts in there too. That's interesting. I mean, that would be cool to find, right? In the 1970s, the McCall's books that are like getting into the quilt thing, and they're like, here's another skirt. Also, a quilt pattern is included in our, I'd like to see that art. Interesting. Okay. We're gonna do half of this. We're gonna watch half tonight. We'll watch half another time. There's a lot of content out there, and we don't have to do it all the time, okay? But this is great, right? It's so good.
Not start quilting early on. My mother made utility quilts. She was always sewing something together to make a quilt to keep us warm. Her quilting was out of necessity. And so I really didn't start until the 1980s. My background, it just wasn't there where you would do these intricate patterns. But in 1980, I decided I can do that because I like geometry. It wasn't my best subject in school, I'll tell you that. But it was more of a challenge for me. And so I bought a book, Let's Make a Patchwork Quilt.
Huh.
And it had these different blocks. I still have...
Isn't this wonderful that they show you the cover? It's so good. It's so good. It's so great. Okay, sorry. And by the way, starting in the 80s. Interesting. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people started making quilts in the 80s, but you always hear about the 70s, right? And then the art quilters had the 80s. It was always them. They get the narrative in the 80s, but I mean, so many people started making traditional quilts in the 80s. Okay.
But I've kept it. It was put out in 1980. I'll never forget it. And I thought, I'm going to do this. I can do that. Because the formation, of all of these quilts made it
Love you, Sherlock.
very intriguing and challenging for me. And so I started. And I never really took a formal class. I followed the book. I figure if you can read and if you can follow directions, you can do this. And so I made up in my mind that I was going to do it. And my first quilt was going to be a queen-size bed quilt.
You see, we talked about that. By the way, Really Hot Compost, I love your screen name so much. And the welcome baskets that are about to come into the chat are for you. We're so glad you're here. First time chat from Really Hot Compost. Compost can get pretty hot. Okay, let's go back to this.
Completely by hand.
A queen size quilt by hand. It's crazy.
I won't tell you what decade I finished it in, but I did make it because for me, that was the challenge. And I'm a New Jersey native. And then I moved to upstate New York. Well, my goodness gracious, winters were endless. And so I worked on that quilt, but then I took a class. I made the first really small quilt I made. I had to do the pattern for it. I had to graft it It was a mariner's compass with 32 points.
Ooh, oh my Lord, no.
And I finished it. Needless to say, those points were stitched on a sewing machine, but I did finish it. So I guess I learned basic techniques and all of that by reading and doing.
My quilting journey is very different from Marjorie's and Jerry Ann's. I never had quilts in my family. I'm from New Jersey as well. I don't remember ever seeing a quilt. Now, maybe I did, but I never really saw a quilt, to my knowledge, until the day I walked into the first meeting for the African American Quilt Circle.
Wow.
So my journey started
Wow.
March 10th, 1998.
Did
And
she say
that's
that
when
was-
I was introduced to the art of quilting.
Sorry. Did she say that was the first meeting or her first meeting? Sorry,
98.
I gotta tap back.
The day I walked into the first meeting for the African American Quilt Circle. So my
first meeting.
journey started March 10th, 1998.
98.
And that's when I was introduced to the art of quilting. So
Wow.
in terms of techniques, when I first started out, because I was new, it was just so exciting and all of that. And I was very diligent about trying to make patterns and points match, and it was not a good experience for me. This was my first quilt. I thought it was appropriate to bring that here today.
We talked about that
It's
tonight.
called Scrappy Beginnings, and that's symbolic for the scraps that I used, as well as my own personal scrappy beginning.
That's weird. That stuff happens on this show all the time. We talked about first quilts, very first quilts. You know, I thought this video was going to be all about the sewing African American quilting circle from the start. I didn't screen it all. I don't do that. I want to watch with you. You know. But here they're talking about, and what we're going to do is we're going to hear them talk about their first quilts, and it's about half, the video. And then next time we'll hear about the quilting circle. It depends, but you know what I'm saying is, like, we talked about first quilts, and I was like, anybody who has a first quilt, if you have a picture of your first quilt or your first, second, or third quilt, email it to us, quiltnerdshow@gmail.com, quiltnerdshow@gmail.com. You don't have to be a subscriber or anything, but if you have a picture of your first quilt, like this quilt from Sauda Zara, right? Let's do a segment on the show about your first quilt. I'd love to see them. Anyway, we talked about it at this top of the show, and here we are again.
In life. This was my first quilt, and I never made another quilt like this because I could not deal with matching and making sure everything was correct. So I veered off from this point to this point. So I do more narrative quilts now, and that's pretty much what my focus is. So that's my quilting journey with the African American Quilt Circle.
So can you tell us a little bit about the other quilt as well?
This quilt is, it's a quilt that I made in honor of Trayvon Martin, and the quilt is called Stand For Me. There were so many emotions, as I'm sure a lot of us had, when Trayvon met his untimely death. And so the quilt really is haphazard because I wanted to talk about and express every aspect I thought that was important about his untimely death. So it's Trayvon in the middle, the neighborhood watch, the state of Florida, the gun, the laws, the scales of justice, just imagining him as a child. He was a child, 17 or not, he was still a child. His mother and father, he had mother and father who loved him, and just the possibilities of what he could have been. He loved airplanes, so I thought I would add that in the balloons that is symbolic for a lot of times when younger people die, especially, they raise balloons. So that's Trayvon Martin's quilt Stand For Me.
Do you all see that the state of Florida is a gun? Right? I'm seeing that right, aren't I? That design element is really, yeah. Do you see it? I can't zoom in when we watch a video. Yeah. Yeah, right. You see that, right, Cake? That's Florida, right? It's a gun. Yeah. It's pretty great.
Watch the state of Florida, the gun, the laws, the scales of justice. Just imagining him as a child. He was a child, 17 or not, he was still a child. His mother and father, he had mother and father who loved him. And just the possibilities of what he could have been. He loved airplanes, so I thought I would add that in the balloons that is symbolic for a lot of times when younger people die, especially, they raise balloons. So that's Trayvon Martin's quilt Stand For Me.
Beautiful, thank you. Do you want to tell us about this one?
So this quilt is called Flash of Spirit, African Design number 2.
I love that.
One thing about the African American Quilt Circle, we always are inspired by what other quilters are doing. And a lot of our quilts, we use African prints. I bet these are some left over from some of your sewings. So, back in the 70s, I ran across a book of African designs. And I was doing batik and tie-dye. And I would use those designs to
I
do
guess she says
different
batik.
shirts and scarves. So this design, which is a Kuba cloth, that area of the Congo where they use the raffia to make the rugs, this quilt is based on that design. Now, part of the pleasure of doing this quilt was looking at the pattern in the book and figuring out how do I reproduce that in fabric. And so I figured it out.
This is freaky. This quilt is freaking me out. Like there's an optical illusion, or my eyes don't know what to do with it. It's great.
And it's rectangles and squares. And the movement, just like, I love the movement. And at first I tried to like capture the movement. And then I had to step back and say, no, where's the square? Where's the rectangle?
Exactly.
And then I found that. So I started just playing with it. I'd never intended to finish it in this fabric, but I kept going and going because I wanted to see the movement and ended up doing the whole thing. And
By the way, my video the sound's fine and should be fine for you, but the video is skipping, but I don't think it's my internet. I think it's the video. I don't know.
I think I have probably a good couple thousand French knots in there. I don't know if you can see those, but it's all hand done, hand pieced and hand quilted. It's one of my favorites.
Hey, Kirsten.
One other thing I wanted to say about your quilt, because Sauda brought up this issue of points, and there is a school of quilting that really values having, and having the different points match precisely. And so you'll see quilters come up and look really closely at your points. And so this one is a great example because it's got so many matching, you can see they're literally points, but so.
Oh yeah. I mean, the other thing about that, I actually had the fussy cut, the striped fabric, because every piece is the same, so that those stripes, when they come to the point, they actually match.
So many of the quilts, particularly the story quilts, kind of take motifs, kind of isolate motifs in fabric and cut them out and kind of put them in a new setting so they stand out even more. And so it's called fussy cutting when you find the motif you want in there, or you find the line, the kind that you think is the perfect line in the fabric.
Hang on. She said French knots. Is that? Oh, I wish I can't zoom in. Do you see? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the polka dots? Kate, can you see on your screen that like they look like little dots in the pink? Is that what she means?
Yeah, and I kind of thought that was either the print or some. I'm not sure.
I think it's the. I don't know.
I think she put the French knot.
I do, because I don't think it is uniform exactly. Like it doesn't look like a print. And she's got like some big stitch quilting in those pink triangles. But like, you know what I can do? The best I can do is this, and I will do it. I will do it. Hang on. Let me just do this. Let me just see if I can make this any bigger for y'all. I don't know that I can. No, I can't. But anyway, when you watch the video and stuff, put that in the chat, and do go subscribe to the channel, like the video. The best thing you can do is if you click that link and you go to YouTube and you see this video, just hit the like button. That it really makes a difference in this world. If you like a video, hit the like button. You could like Quilt Nerd videos on YouTube. Hit the like button. So, but you can see it, and we're at the 21-minute mark. It's pretty interesting to look at, because if those are all French knots, which I think they are, the texture that it adds is awesome. What do you think?
I think you're right. I don't know what you did, but it looked like it zoomed in a
little. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think so too.
Wow, that's amazing, because that's a lot of work. French knots are.
Yeah.
They're the bane of an embroiderer's existence.
Really? Are they really? But how interesting. I mean, to French knot a quilt, I've never thought about that. What cool texture. What a cool process to do. Fascinating. We don't teach you how to make quilts. I can't teach you how to make a French knot. And you know what? I would never. But what an interesting thing. Like maybe on one of your projects, you do that. It's very interesting. Okay.
My quilt is outside the door. And it tells a story, more or less. I do a lot of story quilts. Applique is what I love the most. And so you will see a lot of applique pieces on that particular quilt. It's based on a book by Michelle Alexander called The New Jim Crow. And it's really self-explanatory of three parts of African American history.
So I think this is probably a question that we'll begin with Jerry Ann, but I asked the group to tell us a little bit about how the guild got started.
Okay, now this is when the story gets good. Not that they have not been good, but we love to talk about how we got started. And
Okay, and I know it's crazy, but you know what? To be honest with you, that's the right place to stop. Because we can't, look, we go for about 2 hours, and after that, I'm not going to keep you. I'm not going to hold you hostage. I got to get some rest. And so now we've heard the history of these 4 women, right? We know how they began quilting. We know some of their quilts. We've seen several of their quilts, each of theirs. So before we get into the story of the group, like, I'm not going to cut it there. So what we're going to do is what I like to do programming wise is not just leave off and pick up the same content the very next show, because if people who like I want people to have something fresh every time. And so if you are here watching this show, you may be like, okay, I can watch that later. I want to keep you on your toes. So we're going to watch the rest of this video within the next 2 weeks of the show. Okay. So by then, within the next, that is my plan, right? I have my Quilt Nerd content plan worksheets. Yes. So we'll finish it within the next couple weeks, because I'm not going anywhere. We're here. We do the show twice a week, Tuesdays and Saturdays, always. Sometimes we do pop-ups. So we'll finish this, right? We won't finish it on Tuesday. I'll have different things for you, and then we'll circle back and learn about the rest of, we'll learn about the group. But we met 4 pretty amazing women who all have very different backgrounds in quilt making. And they came together and they're part of this group, and it's amazing, So I care about quilts because I care about, these people, right? What else are you doing with your life? Meet them, hang out at Quilt Nerd and look at art. That's basically why I do this. So that's the scoop. And Really Hot Compost, I'm so glad that you're here, and you're new, but other people are new who maybe didn't say hi in the chat. That's totally fine. You could be in the lurker lounge. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, I'm so glad you're watching. I don't see things. If you chat in YouTube or Facebook land, I don't see it because I run the Mission Control is on Twitch, which is it's a really good time. You should come over here and do the thing over here, and subscribe if you like this content. And you're like, yeah, I think this show should exist. I think there's room for this show. I think there's room for this content in the quilt world. And what the best thing would be is if you come around and watch the show, tell somebody about it. Be like, there's this weird thing. Mary Fonz? Oh, yeah, Mary Fonz. I love her. Or, oh, yeah, Mary Fonz. I can't stand her. Either way, it's a new thing. It's a new idea to live stream and chat together and actually look at stuff, because we love our podcasts. Podcasts, God, I love to sew to a podcast. I love to listen to a podcast while I'm cleaning. But quilts are visual things. So it's kind of groovy. Oh, what? Somebody just, Quilts for Sweet Dreams just gifted a sub. You gifted a sub to Photomom41. Congratulations. A little champagne cork for you. You just got a gift sub. That means that you're a subscriber for a month. Thanks to Quilts for Sweet Dreams. That was so kind of you. Thank you so much, Quilts for Sweet Dreams. So, Photomom, you're going to be entered in the giveaway for the book this month. You don't have to watch ads. And Hot Compost, Really Hot Compost, said that, hey, Stink Beetle Boy, I mean, you need to meet Really Hot Compost, because beetles and we're all about Mother Earth tonight, I'm telling you. Anyway, when you are a subscriber, you get access to the Discord, which is where we hang out. You get a code for the Discord. If you are a subscriber, or if you get a gift subscription, whatever you do, if there's one thing you do, you tune into the show. But then you have to email quiltnerdshow@gmail.com, because we need to be able to get you links, and we need to get you, we need your address if you win the giveaway. And I had a blog. I don't write on my blog anymore, but at least for now. But for well over a decade, I have so many email addresses. I have thousands of them. Have I ever even considered selling them to someone? No, I haven't, because that's terrible. So I'm not going to sell your address. I don't want to do that to you. I hate it. People do it to me. It's just not worth anything to me to do that. So you can be okay. You're okay to email us quiltnerdshow@gmail.com and give us your we gotta tell you when the special sewing the VIP streams are happening, right? Ugh. Oh my god, everything's happening. Hey, Riri. Is it Rihanna? Rihanna, are you watching my show? It's not Riri, but it's Riri. Anyway, okay. Thank you for gifting another sub. That's so cool. So Stephanie Cake, have I said all the things I need to say? I mean, about like watching the show and why you should. And there's a Sunday social tomorrow, right? Oh, what? Anonymous gifter. Oh, really? Hot compost? I knew it. I knew somebody was going to come through for you on a subscription. Congratulations. Everybody's getting subs. It's like Sub Saturday. Sub Saturday. I like that. I like that a lot. That's got legs. But tomorrow's the Sunday social. What does that even mean? What does that even mean?
A Sunday social?
Yeah, like what? Some people might not even know what even that is.
Well, for our tier 2 and 3 subscribers, you get invited to the Sunday social, which is lots of fun. It is a private social just for tier 2 and 3. Sometimes there's all kinds of gossipy gab, and sometimes Mary does really interesting stuff she doesn't do here.
It's true. Interpretive
Sometimes
dancing.
people like Marianne Fonz show up, so
Frequently, actually. Yeah. And because there's these different levels, of subscribing, and it's just like there's so much content in the world. When you find the stuff you like, I got to tell you, as a content creator, God help you. I mean, support them, because it's just I think that's the world we're in. You didn't used to have to support NBC and ABC and CBS, like they just were, but now it's different, and it's like I'm NBC. You know what I mean? Like NBC needs to run the network, and so you find the stuff you like and you support those channels, and I have content creators that I support too for $4.99 a month or $10.99 a month, whatever it is. Really makes a difference. It makes the thing happen. So anyway, there's tier 1 subscribers, is subscription, tier 2, tier 3. And if you go on the Twitch, could you drop the link, Steph, in the chat about where the subscribe? Is it the about page on the Twitch page? Is that where you learn about subscriptions?
yes.
Okay.
If you scroll down just from the video that you're watching now, you can see.
Oh yeah. They're already
You could just scroll down. When the show is not broadcasting, there's a tab, I think, about subscribing.
That's right. Yeah, do it. And when you're at tier 2 and tier 3, you get to get the special link to the Sunday socials, and you get like postcards from me, and you get, I don't know, you don't have to watch ads, you get stuff, there's lots of things, and there's more stuff all the time because we're still figuring this out. But it's a good show. There's good people here. I mean, we got a AQSG membership discount. There's stuff, you get stuff. You do, and you meet. Sorry, and then I'm gonna stop. Then you meet people who you want to know. Like if you like this show, unless you're just weirdly stalking me, which is possible. You might have weird stalkers too, Cake. They might be like, who is Stephanie Cake?
Well, the Turnip of Hope has been stalking me since I brought them into the world. So, but it's all good.
And if you want to know what the Turnip of Hope is, I'm just like you. We all want to know. It's a little inside joke, but you know what? You're welcome to the inside jokes. You're going to learn all about it. It's so fun. Okay, so thank you for watching. Come back every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Central Time, every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. I'll give you a little teaser to send you off into the night. I told you that the Fabric of a Nation exhibit, the one that was at the Museum of Fine Arts Boston, it's at the Skirball. That's Skirball, Skirball, Skirball Cultural Center outside of LA through March 12th. Well, my mother, Marianne Fonz, and I will be going. Oh yeah, we're going. We are going. Will we take you along with us? Yes. Am I in communication with the Skirball Cultural Center to see if I can live stream the event? I am. Would that be a subscriber-only situation? I'm afraid it has to be. That's the kind of thing you're going to get, Like, you can go to that exhibit. Oh, my God. So, yeah. It's great. It's good stuff. Okay, everybody. Take care. Court Quilts. Oh my God, Court Quilts, it's so good to see you. If I didn't say hi to everybody, it's just, I just didn't, but I just think the world of you, and I thank you so much. Cake, God, thank you. You were here. I don't know what I would have done if you weren't here. Please don't ever go away. Please don't ever go away.
Well, we'll thank Mr. Cake's illness
Yeah.
for keeping us home. He's gonna be fine, but he's just a big baby.
She couldn't do the thing she was going to do because Mr. Cake he's unwell, but he'll be back. He'll be back. Okay, everybody. I'll see you soon. See you on the disco. If you subscribe tonight, email quiltnerdshow@gmail. This is very important. Email quiltnerdshow@gmail.com if you got a gift sub and the thing tomorrow is for tier 2 and tier 3 subscribers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that, yes, most of the gift subs looked like they're tier 1, but yes, anybody who upgrades tonight, because I know sometimes you guys do this, get excited. Please, the very minute you upgrade, send that email that Mary's talking about, quiltnerdshow@gmail.com, because Robin will not be able to send you the link if you don't.
It's a private link. It's a special link. We email it right before the Sunday Social at 11 a.m. Central tomorrow, mid-morning. Get some mimosas, but you got to give us your email address so we can send it to you, okay? Okay, everybody. That was really fun. Okay, love you so much. Talk to you later.